Good morning. Good morning. We are live with Tuesday Titans, and I have a Titan in the house today. We should have people coming on the live. Sorry, we're a little late. It was totally one of those man moments where I had some wires plugged in the computer and my mic wouldn't work. But lovely Alexis was kind enough to be sitting here with me as I fumbled with it. I almost need to meditate now after that 10 minutes because you know how you're frantically, you got live, which the reason live is so popular is because of this, right? People get to see the train wrecks happening in real time. And that's what I love about live. But we got to figure it out. Alexis, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Maybe turn up your volume just a tad.
All right. It's all the way up. How's that?
I can hear you okay. We're good. Beautiful. And I see we have a couple of viewers on now. So with no further ado, I'm going to get started so we can get rocking on this thing. So with me today, the beautiful young lady you see sitting on the other side of the camera is Alexis Asbe. She is one of my favorite human beings literally on the planet. Alexis has coached hundreds of professional women to success and created innovative female empowerment events as founder of the Brave Love Tribe. Brave Love Tribe. She has worked with celebrities, well-known political figures, and even British royalty. As the founder and CEO of Flower House, she was an early pioneer in the event management business, orchestrating over 3,000 plus flawless weddings. Time out right there. I mean, 3,000 weddings. That's enough to make me want to like move to Ireland and grow things off the grid. But anyway, she's an absolute rock star. She played a key role in expanding an organization from 70 to 40 employees. Her work has been featured on CBS Evening Magazine, Home Edition, or Extreme Makeover Home Edition, CBS Evening Magazine. She's a best-selling author at The Altar in Your Underwear. We're going to have discussion around that. And literally one of my favorite people on the planet. With no further ado, please welcome Alexis Asbe to the show, Tuesday Titans. Alexis, welcome.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm amazing. Now that I got you live, I'm amazing.
Yeah. Now that I can hear you, I'm amazing too.
I know, right? And if you can only tune me out and mute me out on a normal basis, it'd be an awesome thing for you to be able to accomplish. But I'm not that easy to mute. But you accomplished it today. So listen, I'm really excited about this particular interview. I told you earlier that Tuesday Titans is a passion project for me, and I'm really grateful to have you on as one of the first guests on the show. And what it's about is just, bringing a message that's valuable to people. And you in the coaching arena and the professional business arena, you and your husband built a beautiful business that I got to witness firsthand in Redding, California. I remember that day that you guys were in Remax with Charlie Cram moving in and moving to town and saying, yeah, we're going to launch this. We've got a vision for this and a restoration and construction company. And again, in my opinion, in a place of serving others, right? In a way to aid and help others in that most trying time in their life, restoration after fires and everything else. And I have an absolute man crush on your husband, Kelly. I think we've talked about that. Had to set healthy boundaries around that. But, with that, I'd love to just maybe go on, ask you a couple questions, kind of get the interview process rolling. It's all about you, so you can go wherever you want to go with it. And I do have people, Tom Davis, Mr. Technology, I know, right? It's never a dull moment when you're live. I'm not in pajama bottoms today, though. That's a big plus, because usually I coach all day in pajama bottoms, but today I'm wearing pants for you, although your book is called At the Altar in Your Underwear. So tell us about that. Tell us about your book and what inspired that piece of it for you, and a little background.
So At the Altar in Your Underwear, as you know, I sold my wedding and event company about 14 years ago with this grand vision to help women really honor themselves and others through the planning of a very critical time in their lives. And as you know, people are really stressed during that time. And it was really important to me to give back to an industry that I felt was so, for lack of a better word, vapid in the way that it didn't support the health and well-being of the families or the bride or the groom for that matter. And women were being called bridezillas. And it's just a really grueling process. I mean, for the first time in a woman's life, she's literally being viewed and being seen, which is her deepest desire. And it's very vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable process. And I remember when I would deliver or present in a room or a wedding or an event or any sort of design at all, it was like standing in my underwear. It's like, here, I made this for you. Now shoot arrows at me and I will try not to die. And it was interesting during that time because I had this extreme awareness about the vulnerability, but I really didn't know how important it was at the time. And then right after that, Brene Brown started talking about vulnerability. And so now vulnerability is really the big buzzword, and everybody's trying to be authentic and vulnerable. And I think that the truth and the reason for the success of that company was my willingness at that time to really stand in my underwear, to really be vulnerable and to walk an edge with people about pulling out their hearts and their souls and not just doing what we should do. And for me, that's really a theme in my entire life. It's like what we should do versus what's really true to our heart's desire. And that's what I'm really passionate about. In business and life and marriage and love and friendships and relationships, because it doesn't always make sense. And I can tell you that every time I've started a company that I have not internally asked myself, does this turn me on? And I'm not saying turn on from a place of sexuality. I'm like turned on, like lit up, even though it might spreadsheet out really nicely or, pro forma out really nicely, it never works.
That gave me goosebumps because literally, my experience meeting you is just you just kind of ooze this amount of love and this, I think you were maybe even a pioneer in the vulnerability days, as you said, 14, 15 years ago. And it's somewhat of a buzzword now. And because of people like you in my life, I use those words like, this is sexy. It doesn't mean it's sexual. It means that it's a turn on spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically as well. But that the way you described that's perfect for me. And literally, you can feel that vibrational energy with you. And we've talked about that. And you have one of the most loving relationships I've ever met with Kelly. And it's funny because I've told you this in person.
Known as Aquaman on social media.
Aquaman is a beast, and besides he races drag boats and he's just sexy as a bitch. I don't know how else to put it. But the thing is, your guys' love and relationship just makes it where it's even that much more attractive for Kelly. And it's funny because, and to be vulnerable, I'm going to be really real on this call today. I even had a conversation with you recently, you may remember, where I was like, what are you exactly doing? Because it feels almost like a woman's movement, which feels a little against the man. It felt like it was not man hating. I didn't want to put it that way, even though I might have conveyed it inappropriately that way. I was talking to you in love, right? I was having a conversation with you that was deeply admirable towards you and admiration, but I wanted to try and get your message. And you were really taken aback by that because you're like, no, it's all about the man. It's not about women standing strong. It's really that relationship bind that I guess. I mean, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Does that make sense?
It does. And, I have a favorite quote by Jada Pinkett Smith that it starts out by saying, a man cannot fully see himself through the eyes of a broken woman. The women understand who they are and are willing to step into that goddess, queendom, high priestess, whatever it is for you.
Wow.
A man will never feel whole. And believe me, I'm just a girl, trying to do it too. And it's very, very important for me, for my relationships with my husband, of course, and then with my children, for them to really see a whole, complete woman, or at least a woman who's going after it relentlessly.
Totally agree. And maybe touch on that piece with, I follow your Facebook and we're friends, but, sometimes we live vicariously through Facebook, and it's really sometimes not the real truth, right? But with you, it is. And And I could see your love for your children, that we all have love for our children, but your bond and your connection is like I've never witnessed. Talk about that a little bit. I mean, how do you talk to a teenager and get them to really vibe with you on that level and understand the magnificence of that connection and that vulnerability?
Well, I think first of all, I really see myself as a teenager. So I really try to put myself in their shoes, as well as I feel very much just like I'm growing up.
Right.
And, I was raised by a father who was in the military. He was a Marine, a wonderful man. But he was really raising me in a way that was more out of his fear for me being harmed in some way. And
a safety and security place?
Control and restriction and fear. And ultimately that message, I think that if we send that to our kids, and what I'm really desperately trying to not send to my kids is the idea that they are able to figure stuff out and that they have all the tools that they need. And yes, am I terrified when they drive out the driveway? I've got my daughter is qualifying 5th in states for snowboard, and her posse, they're number 1 qualifying as a group. And I mean, they're racing. I'm like, oh, with the grace of God, go I, please.
Right.
Like, slow down for a minute. But, it's really being mindful that they are really capable of making good decisions if they're given the information that they need in a loving way that empowers them to do that. And so I talk a lot about sex with my kids, and not that they're making great choices or that they will for the rest of their life, but I really believe that, and I was raised Christian, I really believe that our bodies are sacred. However, God gave us free choice, and we cannot shame their sexuality or their God-given desire to want to be intimate and sensual and sexual. And so to really come from a place of you are so important and you are so worth everything that you desire, and you get to figure that out by getting in and out of relationships is very, very important to me. And
I love that.
They're not perfect.
Right. And so you had the sex talk with them when they were 27, hopefully?
No, I've been having a conversation around intimacy and physical touch and what feels right to them around, like, just in meeting people. Like, if my daughter doesn't want to hug someone, my mom was like, oh, you have to dance with that boy that wanted to dance with you.
Oh.
Right? That sent a very clear message to me that it was my job to please the man.
Interesting. That is very deep, and I love that. Rob Moser just posted, love that. A man will never see himself wholly through the eyes of a broken woman. Powerful. So true, Rod. And thanks for being on the show. Alexis, you are amazing in the way that you can communicate. And, I've been blessed to be able to watch you communicate and navigate through some of these sometimes challenging conversations and situations in business, and the amount of it's just your posture is something that is so recognizable. You're one of those women, when you walk in the room, it's like, holy shit, who's that? And forget about the leper skin craziness you have going on, because that's just a wardrobe piece of it. But I'm talking about internally, it's identifiable with you. And frankly, that's when I thought of people for this show. Last show we had Tom Daves, stud, #1 Keller Williams agent in the world, 7 out of 15 years or something. And listening to the way that he talks about business and all that, it really pulls it together, right? For me, he's just a machine. He's just got disciplined, and he's one of the most disciplined guys I know in business. And you as well are one of those disciplined people in businesses. You took a business and just really crushed it in Redding, California, really made that brand something that was the leading brand for restoration amongst titans effectively in the industry, right? As a family-owned business.
Well, and please let me acknowledge my 2 business partners, my husband and Scott Brondo, who we were a team. My role, I really saw my role as the mama, or the keeper of the house, so to speak. And so so thank you so much. I will say that one of the things I'm most proud of is that I made breakfast for the people that are still there, the first 2 employees at my kitchen counter. And with my first company, my very first employee was my last employee. And so I feel deeply about the people I get to work with. I feel privileged and honored. And I don't think that in business that there should be any disconnect around all of our lives and who people are as people. Like, I don't see it as a hierarchy. I see it as very much as we are in life and in this together. And so we really have to take into consideration our strengths and our weaknesses on every level.
I love that. So let's dive in with some good questions here. So in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life? And it could be longer, but
a habit for sure would be over the last 3 years, my father passed away, and I went looking for a master's degree in women's leadership, which there is none of. And Google was so divinely awesome in directing me to a program called the School of Womanly Arts. And I have been engaged in that program for the last 3.5, 4 years. And so the habit of really turning inward into my own turn on and seeking pleasure and joy and owning my sexuality has been, I would say, probably the most impactful thing that I've done in my life.
Wow. You have an event. It's a women's event. Can you tell us a little bit about that? You went somewhere, last year or so?
I ran a women's retreat in Greece.
Greece.
Yeah, on the island of Amorgos, and it was called Body, Business, and Love, which are things that we typically in business disconnect. We don't connect our bodies to love, or our bodies to business, or even love. And the work was transformational, and I'm just actually feeling into the longing of doing another retreat internationally.
I love it.
So I'm excited about that.
How many women went with you to Greece?
We had, I believe there was 14 in total, which was the capacity I could have at that particular location.
That's amazing. Sounds like an amazing event. I knew a couple of the women that went with you on that event, and just following their natural posts and their lives after the event was very noticeable. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's when I first heard about the event, is I started seeing a change in people rather than their posting. It was almost like an energy shift. So I'd love to have been a fly on the wall. Do you have to be a woman to go to that?
Yes.
I knew the answer to that, but it doesn't hurt to ask. You don't get anything in this world you don't ask for. Awesome. And by the way, viewers, if you have any questions for Alexis, please post them, and I'll look at them. I can see them on my side, and we'll make sure we ask those questions. But,
same question, Randy, every time. Can I come?
Yeah, can I come? Right. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about morning routines. I'm a big proponent of morning routines. It's some of my most vulnerable posts on Facebook Live and stuff is what my morning routine looks like. And I'm not talking about brushing your teeth and doing the things that we need to do, to take care of our hygiene and stuff, but the mental morning routine. What does your morning routine look like, and do you have one? Oh,
absolutely. I'm a self-care addict. So I am and I'm also a systems person. So I have a system in the morning that I do. And right now, and it does vary and it changes, but right now, after selling Aztec, which it's just been in the last, I believe, 6 weeks,
wow.
Really taking some time to just slather on the self-care and really grind out this self-care practice and morning ritual. And right now, for me, it looks like the very first thing I do is I don't drink coffee anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
When did you stop drinking coffee?
About 8 weeks ago. My nervous system in the negotiation process of and my counterpart would say the same thing. We were like both trying to be cool and trying to be really loving, but we're also like making sure that we are, getting what we need and then dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. my nervous system was pretty stressed for a period of time. Also, it was the holidays when we were in deep negotiation, and Aqua's back went out, and he was having some physical paralysis that he needed emergency back surgery. So it was quite rupturous time. So right now I'm in a healing time. And just to be very vulnerable about that, I really do feel like people have that we can't continue to grind on our bodies and not have a winter season. And so like the season right now, I'm in a very much of a winter season where I'm trying to get an extraordinary amount of rest. My morning routine consists of lemon water. Hot lemon water is the very first thing that I put into my body. And it really, that flushes out your kidneys and your liver and just cleanses you in a way. And that's the very first thing that I do. As far as what I say in the morning is I usually talk to myself around, okay, you're worthy, you're important. I really do a lot of self-talk. I march right over to the meditation area, and then I meditate. So I'm meditating, and while I'm getting ready, I listen to some sound healing music, which is vibrational, as opposed to my, go kill the world and you got this heavy metal or hard rock, which is workout. And I will go move my body vigorously for at least an hour. I'm doing a lot of yoga right now. And I'm not putting more than about 3 things on my list of things to do. And I'm just trying to be very gentle and okay in this space of reimagining my new life.
I love that. And, we haven't seen each other physically since this transformation of selling the business and all these pieces. So I could see a calmness about you. I could see, because you were like conquering the world, right? You have all these things going on similar to what I do and what we've talked about. And it's really about slowing down and then becoming more productive or more purposeful in what your actions and activities are. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Over the last 3 years, which were probably the highest growth for us. And then we had natural disasters, which, really took the business to another level. And that was quite stressful as well. Yeah.
Reading had one of the worst fires in the nation, obviously.
It was a very stressful time, but I'm really grateful that that for the most part, everybody is doing okay and doing well. But holding space for people who are calling you on a regular basis, saying I've lost everything, and I would just cry. I would just cry at my desk, realizing what these people have lost, and then thinking about walking through the next 3 years of like how they were going to rebuild their lives. Wow. So that was hard on me. I'm an empath. I'm a feeler. Not to say I'm also not a very disciplined systems and management and inspect what you expect type of person as well.
Right.
And I think that's also really important for people these days is just because we are badass does not mean that you, like you, Randy, you are badass. Like you are amazing and full of life and full of energy. That it does not mean that you are also not a very sensitive, nurturing, healing, loving, compassionate man. And I think that what I'm noticing in the world of business for women is that we are really shutting ourselves off to the feminine. And I'm really learning at this stage, especially at midlife. And by the way, thank you for saying I was young. I really appreciate that.
You are, honey.
Is reconciling the relationship around the feminine. And the feminine is creative and collaborative and connecting and does not just do it all the time. And she's rupturous, but always evolving. And I really feel that why we're having so many women with autoimmune, men and women, and heart disease and lung cancer, a lot of that is because of dis-ease that we are exemplifying in our life, and dis-ease manifesting on a cellular level in our bodies as well. Mm-hmm. So this time, I think, for a woman, I think that she really needs to carve out time for a not productive or a more creative, dark space where she can internally feel what it is she really is truly desiring.
I love that. There's a few women on the call that I very much admire as well, and they're women in business, real estate agents, for instance, and watching them navigate effectively what could be considered a man's world in the past. Now, real estate's now turned to it's primarily women. And it's because I think the women can connect and they can be compassionate and all these pieces that it used to be a man's world, frankly, statistically and in reality, right? So Cindy Silva, she's on the line. She's one of those women that I look at that just, really come off as so professional, but so caring and loving as well. And I think that is an advantage in business. What's your experience in business specifically? Being a woman CEO. I mean, you've been a CEO of multiple companies and founders and at a high level. What's your experience maybe then and now as what's going on with women in leadership roles in business?
Yeah, well, to be completely honest with you, I really drove out of the masculine for a lot of years in my younger years. And I found myself not completely satisfied, or it was a struggle on a regular basis. Money didn't flow in. It was like I had to work hard for it. And in some way, that was great. Like, I do it, therefore I am kind of a thing. And what I really feel like is happening now, and there's a shift towards this, I'm looking at the screen. Sorry, I'm distracted.
Right.
I feel like there's a shift towards this and really coming into just what you were saying about your friend who's in real estate. She's honoring both sides of herself. She's honoring not only the goddess in herself, but the warrior in herself as well. And to not disconnect from that. I see so many women in business and have coached so many women that are facing chronic illness or just stressed out or their marriages are failing. And really that's a symptom of not being led out of the feminine. And so that's that I think is a really important piece, or caring for herself first.
Yeah, exactly. Can you see the post on the screen from Tom Daves? How does Alexis like Ed White? Can you see that?
Yeah, I love it.
You know who Ed White is?
I do. I trained with him for a lot of years, and Ed was instrumental in me getting into the physical and health end of coaching women.
Wow. I don't know how Tom Daves knew that, but he's an amazing man. So he's very intuitive, obviously.
He just texted me. Ed just texted me just the other day. Yeah.
So amazing. So amazing. So what, you to me feel like you always have it under control. And I know you can't have it completely under control. Nobody is perfect, right? So, but from the outside looking in, it seems like you always have this poise about you that really, and honestly, I love on you and Kelly because you literally are some of my favorite humans on the planet. You were at my last wedding. Some of your most memorable pictures of you anyway were holding crawfish at the wedding and just, the presence that you bring. But I know you're not Superwoman all the time. I know you have chinks in your armor that happen too. So tell me, when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, or you've lost focus temporarily, what do you do? Do you ask questions of yourself? How do you get back to a center?
I do a lot of self-talk. I very often will put myself, when I'm hard on myself or I'm overwhelmed, I will think about myself as if I'm my daughter. And one of the greatest gifts of my life is having a daughter so that I can really relate to myself as that, because I think she's perfect. Is I will talk to myself as if I would talk to her. So if I'm feeling really, shitty about myself because I'm sick, or I'm not doing very well, or I don't feel like I'm figuring something out as quickly, or I'm not moving as quickly, I'll think of what I would say to her, and then I will say it to myself. So
right.
that's I will talk to myself as if I'm a small child. And I used to ride horses a lot. And I had this horse that was nervous, and he was always like, "Oh, what's going on? What, where is it? What?" And I would have to talk to him. And I learned this at an early age, being an equestrian rider, that you connect energetically And also, when you speak to something, it's energy. And so I would talk to this horse and I would say, hey, bud, you got this. One step at a time. We got this. Okay, that's a deer. No big deal. He's not going to eat you. Big buck. We got this, and he would calm down, but he would have to hear the sound of my voice in order to feel assured. And I think that we as people need more of that. And I think that we're on social media to find connection a lot. I know that when I am not feeling connected, I will autopilot over to social media and I'm like, wait a minute. And what do I need to do to connect with myself? How can I get back into my body and connect with myself better?
I love that statement. And I do the same thing, right? I mean, when I'm feeling a little down or I feel a weakness or a vulnerability or a fear or something, I tend to go to social media. It's just becomes a habit that now I'm breaking that habit, right? But when I woke up first thing in the morning, what do you do? A lot of people go right to their phones, whether it's social media or emails or whatever it is. And I had to shift my belief around that that's not my highest and best use for my mind in the morning, even though it feels good because you're comparing yourself to other feeds or whatever it is. The social media thing's a whole nother conversation, right?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want to speak to that because one of the other things that I do, and I'm religious about it now, is when I was younger, I used to isolate and just put my head down and grind it out. And it wasn't really that fun. It was actually really lonely and isolating. And I have a network of women through this feminine leadership program, as I call it, that I am accountable to. We have weekly pod calls, and I can call it anytime, day or night. And I will reach out to them and I will vulnerably talk to them about what's going on with me and ask them to hold space and just witness me. And that has been so, so vitally important. And I find it interesting because my global community I'm in touch with more than my local community. My local community has not quite learned how important it is to forge these feminine relationships, at least for women.
Yeah.
I know it is true for men as well. Kelly's got his bro tribe,
Right.
That it's, and I really think it's important for both men and women to have relationships that can hold them and walk out this journey together and that you can be vulnerable with. I know that in any business challenge and any life challenge, they're not giving me advice. They're just seeing me in either my rupture or my rising. And there's something very, very connecting and very validating for me around having this incredibly loving group of women. And I know that women can get really scared about those relationships because we've been hurt the most by other women in competition. But I will say what you guys do is awesome. You guys, here's what bros do. Dudes, they talk about everything in the locker room. Like they're naked and you guys, your junk's hanging all out and you're like fist pumping, like, oh, you're great, bud. And you're talking about who you're dating or who you're in love with. You're talking about what you're doing, what you're investing in. You're talking about, who pissed you off, who didn't piss you off, what's going good, what's not going good. You're talking about your workout or, you know what women do in the locker room? I can tell you I've not been into one women's locker room and we don't even look at each other.
Really?
No one's talking.
That's interesting.
It is a trip.
That is you're absolutely right though. I mean, even if we don't know anybody in the locker room, there's still at some point where, you're right. We're broing up on each other, and that's really interesting. My ex-wife that Deborah very well. She had a spa day somewhere we went, and she kind of said the same thing. She goes, it's weird. It's like the women in there aren't really talking to each other. It's almost like no eye contact. And I remember that statement now that you just said that, and it's kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we get into circles of women where we can be vulnerable. And men, you don't lead with that if you're leading a circle because you say vulnerable to a woman with strangers, she's like, hell no.
Right.
So I think that connection with women, and I also think that transparently talking about investments, money management, the things that terrify women the most, what we don't know how to do and how to get that done is also really important, because we think we're supposed to know, or think we're supposed to know it all. And so, I go to my resources if I need help with investing or some sort of finance question. And I'm a finance person. I will go find someone to talk to about that. So really, really nurturing that willingness to reach out and say, I have no idea what I'm doing. Please help me.
Interesting.
And women want to share what they have. So if you ask, they're very often willing to share it.
Interesting. And that's a great maybe segment into my next question on the business topic. But what advice would you give maybe a new woman wanting to enter into business specifically, or a new venture and or career? And most importantly, maybe what advice should they ignore?
If they're going to start a new business, I would definitely say make sure it's something that turns you on exponentially. Mm-hmm. Like it's just it just pulls at you, and maybe it even scares you a little bit. And for a man as well, I say that to my son all the time. Just do something that turns you on, and that it feels like it's an extension of yourself and not a disconnect. Mm-hmm. So that would be the first thing that I would suggest. And then surround yourself with support and get yourself a coach for sure. I think that if you are a champion and you want to perform at an optimal level, no athlete, no champion does it alone.
Yeah, that's so true. As you know, I coach real estate leaders around the nation. And somebody asked me recently if I had a coach. And I said, of course I have a coach. And they're like, why do you have a coach? You're a coach. I mean, right. For them, it just didn't make sense. And I'm like, fuck, I'm the one that needs it the most. Are you kidding me? Of course, I'm a huge advocate for coaching. But I can't even imagine being a coach and not having a mentorship or coaching. And it's always about leveling up, right? I mean, some of my early coaches were so instrumental in my success from A to B and B to C, but you may outgrow a coach, or you may need a multiple coach. I've had multiple coaches at different times, financial coaches and or spiritual coaches, or whatever it may be. Are you still in coaching?
Absolutely. I have multiple teachers. And I'm always doing some sort of personal, professional development work or researching that. The one thing that I would suggest to people who are hiring coaches is that there's a lot of coaches out there, and there's a lot of people online that can say that they can do. I look for their story. What's their backstory? If they have not been on a bathroom floor on their hands and knees as an entrepreneur, scrubbing the floors and worrying about how they're going to make payroll or cash flow, they cannot help you in the time that you're in if you have no idea how to make money.
I love that statement. It just gives me goosebumps to think about it.
Or a real estate agent that's not making six figures. Do not hire a real estate agent or a realtor to coach you if they're not where or at a higher level than you want to be. Yeah, I think that's really important.
Interesting. And are you still coaching others?
At this time, I'm doing everything I can to say no for a while. So now I'm not.
You're in a break session and kind of recalibrating, if you will. Is that accurate?
I'm in a creation.
Interesting.
So the season of creation is in the winter season. It's the dark season. It's the time we go inward and we reflect and we take time to create and reemerge, and then in spring, I suspect I'll be moving and breaking through the dirt and growing and rising into my.
I love that. Can you give us a glimpse into what's next for Alexis Asbe?
Well, maybe. I just might, Randy.
I love it.
Tell me the second part of your question. It was really good. I wanted to.
Yes, thank you. So what advice would you give a new business person? What advice should they ignore?
This is a controversial one, which I typically am a rule breaker. I would say don't just do it. So what that means to me and how I dissect that is that don't just muscle through or kill yourself or not put your own self-care and self-preservation and growth by doing this self-sacrificing martyrism thing. I see a lot of men and women thinking they've got to kill themselves to get something. And that's just not true in the law of nature or business.
Yeah, law of attraction.
I would not hire someone that was pouring from an empty cup. And so, nor would I want to work with a business or a creative or a coach that was pouring from an empty cup. I only want to work with people who are coming from an overflow, like their cup is overflowing. And so to refill and just be just a well of love and light and influence and just with this just overflow of desire to give and serve, that's how I believe that most businesses will be successful and entrepreneurs will be successful.
Wow, what a great answer. I did not expect that answer from you, but it's so true. New entrepreneurs, they just think they have to work 90 hours a week and sacrifices their health and their relationships and everything else. And then they're living in a place of lack. They're attracting from the universe more of what they don't want, rather than starting from a place of absolute contribution or gratitude and love, and then just knowing that it's all going to work out, but putting in the time. You can't say, I'm just going to let the universe work itself out and then sit on the couch and have a burrito, right? Yeah. You still have to put in the work, but you don't have to be in that negative vibration that's attracting more negativity without you even knowing it.
Yeah, I think the number one thing would be just you must put yourself and your relationship with your higher power first.
I love that. So we're going to be wrapping up the call here in a minute. Tell us what's next for you. You kind of alluded to it. You didn't tell me, but what's next for you? Maybe a little teaser?
I think you're going to have to flirt with me a little bit more, Randy. I mean, you're going to really I don't know. I'm just not that kind of girl. I don't really just just come all out with it like that.
Come on, just tease me. What color's the dress?
I currently have a business that I'm working on called Siren Self-Care. And I have created a therapeutic blend of organic, natural skincare that Aqua is actually probably the biggest champion of. He's addicted to it.
And Aqua, by the way, is her husband, a.k.a. Aquaman, a.k.a. Kelly Asbe, for the people that just joined us.
Yeah. And you can find that at sirenscrub.com. And I'm crafting and creating what I feel like is my best, highest offering to women. I am so deeply passionate about working with women in seeing women understand the fullness of who they are. And I want women to stop taking just scraps. I want them to pull their chair up to the feast of the banquet table of life and just own their queendom. And so I'm working on another women's retreat and probably going to do some coaching again.
I love that. I don't see you leaving that space, frankly, but I'm glad that you're taking this time to really take a step back. I mean, you guys had a very successful business that you just sold, and I know that you're not going to sit around in retirement. I know that of you for sure. So I'm excited about your next ventures and what you and Kelly have in front of you and in store. And so my last question as we wrap up the call today, what career accomplishment makes you the most proud and why? You've had a distinguished career. Which one stands out to you and why?
I will say this is just the honest truth. Staying married is probably, and since my husband has been my business partner and also my life partner, is staying married and growing in our relationship. And what I feel like is the biggest accomplishment for me personally is the growth that I've done and that he's doing in becoming the person that we are truly meant to be.
Mm. I know you're inspiring many people, both individuals and relationship people. I know that as a fact. I know you've inspired me. You and Kelly are definitely somebody I look up to and who I want to become relationship-wise and as a human being. And so I really, really appreciate that answer from you. So let everybody know how they can get a hold of you if you want to do that, if you're willing.
Yeah, you can find me at, you can Google me. I'm alexisasbe.com.
Okay.
Siren Scrub or Siren Self-Care, Brave Love Tribe. You can find me pretty much everywhere. Just put my name in the search bar and I'll pop up.
I love that. I love that. Any parting comments before we wrap up?
Randy, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the man that you are. I want to thank you for the work that you do, the digging deep. It's so brave and it's so hot and it's just so attractive. And, I think my work is with women, but my heart is for men. I love men so deeply and so desperately. You guys are so important in our lives, and the way that you hold space for a woman, for your man friends, for business, is revolutionary. And I think the way that men have been programmed to do business, and I just want to thank you for your vulnerability and your courage. Mm-hmm. I think that is the heart of a true warrior, and the way that you come from your heart in every area of your life is so authentic. And I think I just can't stop saying courageous. And I really feel like there's so much victory in that for you and for everyone that you touch. Mm. You are beautiful, you are brave, and you are divine. You're on a divine path. And I'm so grateful to witness and to know you. You've always made me feel extraordinarily special. And I feel the same way about you. And I'm just so deeply grateful to be connected with you. And if there's anything that I can do or for you, please don't hesitate to call me. It's an honor.
I appreciate that so much. I love you. And you can stop talking before I cry on live camera. Thank you so much. Alexis, thank you so much. I value you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here on Tuesday Titans. My vision for this show is really to impact others and to take the people in this world that are making a difference. And you absolutely have been a pleasure to have on. And I appreciate you and all the hundreds and thousands of people that may watch this in the future. Thank you for being here. I just value you so much. Alexis, love you. And Aquaman, thank you for your time today, and just make it a blessed day, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's watching, and bless you all.
All right, thank you so much. Love you, and have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, bye now. Thank you.